You know that cold, sinking feeling you get when a crisis just hits out of nowhere?
Oh, yeah. Like a punch to the gut.
Exactly. Your brain completely freezes up, your heart starts racing, and, all of your carefully prepared plans, all that training you did, it just flies right out the window.
It's gone. Poof.
Right. Suddenly, you aren't managing the situation anymore. The situation is managing you. And, I mean, we have all been there, right?
Absolutely everyone.
Whether it's, I don't know, a high-stakes boardroom negotiation going south, a critical project just completely collapsing at work, or even just the chaotic, unpredictable demands of daily life.
Yeah, just life in general can trigger it.
For sure. So today, we are unpacking a highly specialized framework that is actually designed to completely eliminate that panic response. We are diving into a really fascinating document. It's titled The Stoic Spy, a Doctrine for Mental Dominance.
And I have to say, it is a remarkable piece of methodology. What we are looking at here is a hybrid training framework. It essentially merges ancient philosophical practices, specifically Stoicism in this case.
Right.
It merges that with modern intelligence, tradecraft, and high-level military experience. And man, it does not ease you in at all.
No, it really doesn't.
The central thesis opens with this very stark, intense declaration. It just says, this is not a sales pitch. This is your doctrine.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because pairing up executive protection principles and espionage tactics with ancient Roman philosophy, that is not something you encounter every day.
Not at all. It's a very unique synthesis.
But before we get into the really specific tactics of the Stoic or, the spy, we have to look at the fundamental premise that's driving this whole thing. The doctrine argues that traditional security, intelligence, and tactical training programs are inherently flawed.
Inherently and fundamentally flawed,
That's
because they almost exclusively prioritize technical execution.
Right, like the mechanics of it.
Exactly. They focus on the physical mechanics of responding to a threat. Defensive tactics, physical preparedness, rigid operational checklists.
So just going down the list. Step 1, step 2.
Yeah, they teach you what to do with your hands, your body, or your resources when things go bad. But they completely neglect the primary battleground.
I've been trying to wrap my head around this, and it kind of feels like a computer issue to me.
Oh, how so?
Well, think about traditional training, whether that's learning physical self-defense or like memorizing a corporate crisis management protocol for your job. That's really just upgrading a computer's hardware.
I see where you're going with this.
You are adding more RAM, you're putting in a faster processor, you're giving yourself better physical or procedural tools. But this doctrine, it isn't interested in the hardware. It's about ripping out and replacing the entire operating system.
That is a brilliant way to frame it,
Yeah.
really. Because, I mean, if you have a state-of-the-art processor, right, the best hardware money can buy,
Yeah.
but your operating system is incredibly buggy, and it just crashes the moment you open too many tabs. Well, all that expensive hardware is totally useless.
Totally useless, because if your mind panics when the chaos hits, the physical training never even boots up.
Right, it's just a blue screen.
Exactly. You need a crash-proof operating system to process that high-stakes data without hesitation.
What's fascinating here is that the true goal of this doctrine isn't just about getting out of a bad situation in one piece. I mean, traditional training focuses so heavily on basic survival.
Just getting through it.
Yeah. But this framework is aiming significantly higher. The stated mission here is to transform awareness into preparedness and, ultimately, and I love this phrasing, to transform discipline into personal freedom.
Discipline into personal freedom. That sounds almost contradictory at first until you really think about the actual mechanics of panic.
Right, because we usually think of discipline as restrictive.
Yeah, exactly. But freedom here, it doesn't mean just doing whatever you want. It means freedom from being hijacked by your own biology. Freedom from being controlled by external, chaotic circumstances.
Precisely. Having absolute discipline over your internal operating system means you are free to act purely on strategy. You are no longer reacting out of blind fear.
Which brings us to the actual code that's running on this new operating system. We know the mind is the primary weapon, so what is the programming? The framework points backward to Stoicism.
The ancients, yeah.
And look, we don't need to do a whole Stoicism 101 class here. You know Marcus Aurelius, you know Seneca, but it is fascinating to see how modern intelligence agencies and elite security operatives specifically co-opt this ancient philosophy.
They view it as the original operating system for warriors and leaders.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, the foundational requirements of a Roman emperor trying to navigate political assassinations and, say, a modern intelligence operative running a covert asset, they are basically identical.
High stakes, lots of moving parts.
Exactly. The ones who survive and dominate are the ones who have mastered emotional control. It's about logic over emotion under extreme stress and maintaining moral decision-making in those really murky gray areas.
Right.
And I want to point out the framework defines emotional control not as suppressing your feelings, which is a common misconception.
Oh, yeah, the whole robot stereotype.
Right. They aren't saying be a robot. They define it as actively mastering fear and stress to preserve high-level cognitive function.
And that leads directly into clarity under chaos. Because you literally cannot analyze a volatile situation logically if your amygdala is currently being hijacked by stress.
Your brain just won't let you.
But I do want to zero in on one specific mechanism they rely on heavily here for adaptability and mental resilience, and that's premeditatio malorum, negative visualization.
Ah, yes. A
Really?
cornerstone practice of Stoicism.
Hold on, though, because I need to push back on this a bit.
Okay, go for it.
Because the whole idea is to intentionally prepare for worst-case scenarios, right?
Yes.
But if I am constantly sitting around picturing a major business deal collapsing or, my car getting T-boned in an intersection on the way to work, won't I just become a highly anxious, paranoid mess?
A fair question.
Like, how does visualizing disaster every day not just breed chronic anxiety?
Well, it is a vital distinction to make, and the text handles this well. There is a massive difference between passive anxiety and active preparedness.
Okay, explain that.
Anxiety is an uncontrolled, spiraling emotional state. It's your mind running away with unknown threats, and it leaves you completely paralyzed in the present moment. You're just spinning your wheels.
Just stressing about what ifs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But negative visualization, when it's executed correctly under this doctrine, is highly structured. It's very controlled.
So it's a deliberate exercise, like a drill.
Completely deliberate. You sit down in a safe, calm environment, and you forcefully walk your logical brain through the absolute worst-case scenario. You literally map the mechanics of the disaster.
Just map it out. Okay.
You do this to pre-compute your physiological and psychological response.
Pre-compute. I like that. So you are basically pre-experiencing the failure so you can build the protocol to fix it.
Yes. Think about the anatomy of a crisis. When a disaster strikes, the biggest obstacle to an effective response isn't actually a lack of knowledge.
It's not.
No, it's the emotional shock. It's those 3 or 4 seconds of paralyzing, oh my God, I cannot believe this is happening right now, that completely freezes you in place.
That deer in the headlights feeling.
Exactly. But if you have rigorously visualized the event beforehand, you have already processed that emotional shock in a controlled setting.
Oh, wow. I see. So when the vendor pulls out at the last second or the crisis actually hits your desk, the shock value is basically zero.
You bypass the panic phase entirely.
You just look at the situation, you recognize the scenario you already mapped out in your head last Tuesday, and you just run the protocol.
It replaces paralyzing fear with immediate strategic execution. Your internal operating system is locked down, and it's functioning on pure logic. And really, that is the Stoic half of the equation.
But, I mean, you cannot just exist entirely inside your own fortified mind, right? Eventually, you have to interface with external threats.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
We all have to deal with the real world.
You have to deal with other people, volatile environments, aggressive competitors. And this is where the framework transitions from ancient internal philosophy to modern external intelligence tradecraft, the spy component.
Which is so crucial, because the critique leveled at traditional security and tactical mindsets is that they are entirely one-dimensional and, frankly, reactionary.
Reactionary, meaning they wait for things to happen.
Right. They teach you how to wait for a bad thing to manifest, and then they teach you how to physically or operationally stop it.
Which implies the danger is already right in your face.
Exactly. You're already in the danger zone.
There is a central quote here that anchors this entire shift in perspective. It says, spies don't just protect, they control the battlefield without stepping onto it.
That is the core of it. Because if you are physically fighting a threat, or in a corporate sense, if you are in a screaming match in a boardroom, something in your intelligence gathering and strategic planning has already failed you.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It's like the difference between playing dodgeball and playing chess. Oh, I like that comparison.
Think about it. Traditional tactical training, or even just standard corporate crisis management, is basically dodgeball.
Yeah.
You learn how to duck the ball, you learn how to catch it if someone throws it at your head,
Yeah, you get really good at dodging.
But you are completely at the mercy of the person throwing the ball. You are merely reacting to their aggression, their timeline.
You don't control the pacing and you don't control the environment.
Exactly. But spycraft is chess. It is learning the mechanics of influence so you can manipulate the opponent into putting the ball down before they even realize they wanted to throw it.
That's powerful.
You aren't ducking.
Yeah.
You are structuring the environment so the throw is impossible in the first place.
And this framework dives deeply into the actual mechanisms of how you achieve that control. It highlights tradecraft techniques like disguise, deception detection, social engineering, and counter-surveillance.
And to be clear, we aren't talking about wearing fake mustaches and hiding in the bushes here.
No trench coats. We're talking about practical applications of psychological warfare. Let's actually dig into the mechanics of that, because it sounds intense, psychological warfare, but how does it work in everyday practice?
Sure.
Take deception detection, for example. I mean, I don't need to interrogate foreign assets, but I absolutely need to know if a vendor is lying to me about a production delay. How does this methodology approach that?
It's great because it completely removes the guesswork. Look, deception detection isn't about looking for someone sweating or avoiding eye contact. Those are total myths.
Wait, really? The eye contact thing is a myth.
Total myth. Good liars maintain great eye contact.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what is it then?
It is about establishing behavioral baselines. You observe how a person speaks, how they gesture, and how they structure their sentences when they are totally relaxed and telling the truth.
Like when you're just chatting about the weather.
Exactly. You get their baseline. Then you introduce a stressor, say a specific, pointed question about the contract. You aren't looking for a generic tell. You're looking for a micro-deviation from their established baseline. A sudden change in their speech rate, or maybe a weird shift in their pronoun usage.
So it's not paranoia. You aren't just distrusting everyone. It's just rigorous pattern recognition.
Precisely. You are just watching the data change. And then there is social engineering, which is arguably the most powerful tool in the whole arsenal.
Oh, yeah. Social engineering is fascinating.
It is the mechanics of human influence. Understanding it allows you to construct environments where people willingly give you what you want. But more importantly, it makes you immune to being manipulated yourself.
That's huge, because toxic coworkers, aggressive salespeople, manipulative negotiators, they use social engineering tactics all the time, even if they don't call it that.
They do it constantly. A classic example the doctrine would point out is the false urgency tactic.
Oh, I hate that one.
Right. Someone drops a manufactured crisis on your desk at 4:45 p.m. on a Friday, demanding an immediate concession. They are weaponizing urgency to bypass your logical operating system and trigger your emotional panicking brain.
Because if you panic, you just agree to whatever they want so you can go home.
Exactly. But if you understand the mechanics of that social engineering attack, you don't react to the urgency. You recognize the invisible strings they are trying to attach to you.
You see the tactic for exactly what it is,
Yep.
and then your Stoic operating system processes that attempted emotional shock, and you just calmly diffuse it. You control the battlefield.
And that leads directly into situational awareness and counter-surveillance, which, in a daily life context, this is basically predictive threat mapping.
Predictive threat mapping.
Yeah, you walk into an office dynamic or a complex negotiation, and instead of just participating blindly, you are constantly assessing the competing interests.
Who is allied with whom?
Exactly. What is the hidden agenda here? You are actively mapping the invisible battlefield so you are never caught off guard by a sudden shift in alliances.
Okay, so let's put this all together. We have the internal Stoic lockdown, the absolute emotional control and that pre-processing of shock.
Right.
And then we have the external spy strategy, the proactive manipulation of the environment, deception detection, and situational awareness. So what happens when these two halves are seamlessly fused together?
Well, that synthesis is the ultimate objective here. The doctrine makes it very clear that this fusion creates an entirely new category of training. You aren't just an executive protector reacting to physical threats.
Right.
And you aren't just an intelligence gatherer working in a vacuum just collecting data. Look, renowned protection academies create highly capable defensive assets, but a holistic system of mental resilience and strategic execution. That creates something far more formidable.
It creates thinkers who, and this is a direct mandate from the framework, who win before the fight even begins.
Yes, let's actually look at how that plays out in a high-stakes scenario, just to ground it.
Let's do it.
Imagine a massive, company-defining corporate merger. The kind of environment where careers are made or destroyed in a single afternoon.
Super high stakes.
Right. Now, most executives walk into that room relying entirely on their subject matter expertise. Their hardware, as you put it earlier. They know the numbers. They know the pitch deck backward and forward.
But they are playing dodgeball. They're just waiting to see what objections the other side throws at them across the table.
Exactly. Now, put an operative who is running the Stoic Spy Framework into that exact same room. Days before the meeting, they have already utilized premeditatio malorum.
They've run the simulation.
They have sat in a quiet room and actively visualized the lead negotiator on the other side abruptly rejecting the deal, walking out, and leaking the failure to the press.
The absolute nightmare scenario.
They have mapped the absolute worst-case scenario. They've already pre-processed the spike in cortisol and the sting of that failure.
So when they actually walk into the room on the day of the merger, their heart rate is completely resting. They are emotionally untouchable.
They sit down, and while everyone else is nervously arranging their notes, our operative is establishing behavioral baselines.
They're watching.
They are watching the opposing counsel's casual chatter, figuring out their baseline rhythm. Then, 30 minutes into the negotiation, the adversary tries to launch a social engineering attack.
Here we go.
They use false urgency. They threaten to walk away from the table in exactly 5 minutes unless a major price concession is made right then and there.
And for a normal executive, that triggers an amygdala hijack, panic sets in, the hardware crashes.
Totally crashes. But the operative's Stoic operating system catches the shock, recognizes the exact scenario they already visualized, and completely neutralizes the panic. They don't sweat. They don't concede a single thing.
Right.
Instead, their spycraft kicks in. They notice a micro-deviation from the opposing counsel's baseline. Maybe a subtle overcompensation in their vocal tone.
They detect the deception. They know it's a bluff.
They know the threat to walk away is a total bluff.
So instead of fighting over the concession, they just calmly pivot the conversation. They restructure the terms based on the other side's actual hidden vulnerabilities, the ones they mapped out through situational awareness before the meeting even started.
And boom, they secure a better deal without a single raised voice.
Yeah.
They control the environment, they neutralize the manipulation, and they manipulated the outcome.
They won the battle without ever actually stepping onto the battlefield. Complete mental dominance and strategic influence.
It is incredibly effective.
So what does this all mean? I mean, we started with Roman emperors and covert intelligence operatives, but ultimately, this is about you, the listener, navigating your own complex world.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the profound value of this framework is its transformative ambition. It provides a structured methodology to take ordinary people and fundamentally reprogram them.
Reprogramming the OS.
It gives you the tools to actively refuse to be ordinary. Because, let's face it, the vast majority of people spend their entire lives in a state of reaction.
Always playing catch-up.
Yeah. They react to economic shifts, they react to toxic relationships, they react to the stress of their environments.
But the Stoic spy mindset is a comprehensive refusal to live defensively. You replace reactionary fear with preemptive control. Master the self, master the environment. You completely eliminate hesitation.
And the best part is, the tools are incredibly accessible. You can start establishing behavioral baselines with your team tomorrow morning. You can practice negative visualization before your commute.
The barrier to entry isn't resources, it's discipline.
Exactly, just discipline.
It is a phenomenal journey. We unpacked why traditional physical-only training fails in the face of genuine chaos. We explored how to install a Stoic operating system to process emotional shock before it even happens, so you can function purely on logic.
Logic over panic.
And we broke down the mechanics of spycraft. Deception detection, social engineering awareness, predictive mapping, all to control the battlefield from the shadows.
It really is a fully integrated system for navigating any high-stakes environment.
But before we wrap up today, diving this deep into the methodology leaves me with one highly provocative thought, something for everyone to chew on long after this deep dive ends.
Ooh, lay it on me.
Okay, so we have built up this image of the ultimate crash-proof, emotionally impenetrable operating system, right?
Right.
You are constantly running negative visualization to anticipate disaster. You are constantly establishing baselines, detecting deception, and analyzing the social engineering motives of literally everyone around you.
You are perpetually mapping the battlefield.
Right. But if you successfully adopt this doctrine, or, I mean, is there a massive hidden cost to this?
I see where you're going.
If you are that strategically detached, if you are analyzing every single interaction as a tactical exchange, do you lose the capacity for genuine, uncalculated human connection?
That is the big question.
Like, can you actually turn off the stoic spy when you walk through your front door at night and just need to be a vulnerable partner or a totally present parent? Or does the armor eventually just become your skin?
It is the ultimate paradox of total control, isn't it?
It really is.
To master the chaos, you have to distance yourself from the emotion of it. But distancing yourself from emotion fundamentally changes how you experience the world. It is a vital, really challenging question for anyone adopting these high-level frameworks.
It's the cost of the upgrade, something to seriously consider as you map out your own battlefields this week. Keep questioning your world, keep exploring the frameworks that run your life, and always pay attention to the operating system installed in your own head. We will catch you on the next deep dive.